Did this cartoon copy the Loud House? Many people say that both characters look extremely similar. In today's video, we'll get to the bottom of this. And I actually have a surprise for you at the end of the video. There is a big twist that's gonna reveal everything. The creator of Too Loud left me a message about the truth, so stay tuned. Alright, so first off, let's give these two shows a fair chance. So what is Too Loud and where does it come from? It's an American animated web series created by Nico Colalio. It is a story about Jeffrey and his sister Sarah, and the gimmick is that they are both very loud, thus the name Too Loud. Now if you're scratching your head thinking that that has a very odd similarity to the Loud House, you wouldn't be wrong in assuming so. A lot of people do at first. So what is the Loud House about? Well, this is a Nickelodeon animated series about Lincoln Loud, an 11-year-old boy navigating his life as the only son in a ridiculous household of 11 children. Each episode follows him doing stupid things. Now that I got the premises of both cartoons out of the way, let's dive in, shall we? When we look at the two characters on both cartoons, they have white hair, they both have sisters, and they both have a circular head. Seriously, what's up with cartoon characters' head being the shape of a basketball? Now, is this cartoon a copy? So let's start off with the first point, the color of both the characters' hair. White. Well, at least in Jeffrey's case, it's a little bit close to white. I think that's more of a beige color to me, but still. So obviously the color white is associated with aging, and I always thought that Lincoln Loud was unique in this aspect of him having this hair color because it's not something that makes a lot of sense to add for a younger kid in a cartoon, Lincoln Loud and Jeffrey included. However, the more and more I zoom into Jeffrey, his hair color is more so a shade of blonde. Reminds me of blonde hair, now that I think about it, but that doesn't stop the confusion between the two characters. Anyways, how about we actually dive into the episode from Too Loud to determine if it's really that similar to the Loud House. From the episode titled Gimme the Frog, it starts off with Sarah, who is the sister of Jeffrey, having a stand-up with another character in the library. Now, believe it or not, this cartoon actually has amazing animation, in my opinion. Now, it definitely didn't start off looking this good, okay? Like many shows, it started off looking really bootlegged and janky. I mean, seriously, what is this? But I will say that one of the things that I really love about Too Loud is the fact that it is hand-drawn, instead of that flashy look we always see in cartoons, even in the Loud House. Now I'll give Lincoln Loud's family a pass on their animation because it was intended to mimic the comic book feeling, so that's why they went for that approach. But I think that having hand-drawn brings us back a little bit. Also, it's very tedious to make this type of animation, so kudos to them anyways. This is the first time on my series where a supposed ripoff actually does more work than the original cartoon in question. No one in their right mind would do this. This also points more towards Too Loud not being a ripoff. I wish people would consider this more often. Anyways, Jeffrey decides to interrupt two ladies rudely and just pops out of a stack of toys like a Doug trio. Seriously, was this dude breathing under all those toys? You're not gonna convince me that he wasn't just suffocating under all that rubble. Anyways, we're introduced to Boogie Buds, which are sold as blind boxes. Apparently, you have to search and collect them all. And this is clearly paying homage to, can I hear the word? Pokemon. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was cringe. I'm sorry. Okay, Pokemon. However, the main character just decides to lick the box. These two's levels of intelligence, guys, is bad. It doesn't exist. Anyways, Lincoln Loud's sister decides to go through the Pokemon, and we're introduced to a variety of cool characters. We are shown such cool collections, but Lincoln Loud II realizes that there is an ultra rare Pokemon called Cheese Frog, which they all realize that they don't have, and apparently it's a 1 in 10,000 chance of someone finding it. So everyone gets really sad that they don't have the most epic legendary Pokemon. So the girls leave, and Jeffrey realizes that the two girls missed one of the boxes. And at this point, I'm just wondering, there must be a legendary Pokemon inside of that box. Okay, so I didn't notice this before, but apparently two characters on this cartoon have the same name. Sarah, one with an H and one without. That is so confusing. And one of them is the main character's sister. Oh boy. Very confusing, guys. Anyways, this kid keeps licking boxes. Stop it, dude. That's disgusting. What is wrong with you? Anyways, he somehow stupidly found a legendary Pokemon, which ended up being the Cheese Frog, and everyone celebrates together. And then we run into the same problem I mentioned earlier. Both of these girls are Sarah, and also both Sarah and Sarah wonder who Jeffrey can give the toy to. You guys got to remember, there's only one legendary every item available. Anyways, an argument breaks out between the two. Jeffrey is in a sticky situation, so Sarah, with an H, decides to flirt with him, but his own sister butts in to take over that offer of taking care of all of Jeffrey's library jobs. She even offers to pitch in to make Supreme sandwiches every day while hugging her brother, and Jeffrey looks really excited. He's very happy to hear that his own sister would like to do this for him. So both the girls end up saying that they are willing to do anything to win that legendary Pokemon. Yeah, these two should probably be careful about throwing around the word anything. I mean, we're talking about Jeffrey here. He could come up with the wildest, most bizarre request, and you guys have to follow through because he said, hey, I'll do anything for that Pokemon. Anyways, Jeffrey says he needs help collecting a squirrel, so they all have to help him climb a tree in hopes of getting the acorn. Now, it was unclear of what he wanted exactly. I was assuming it was the squirrel, but then I was like, wait a minute, is it the squirrel or the acorn? Anyways, it actually turns out he didn't want the acorn. He wanted the squirrel. See what I told you guys about him having crazy requests? Yikes. Anyways, he ended up taking it out of his sister's mouth, who caught it on accident. So she asked if she won the toy, to which Jeffrey decides to make up more rules, saying that he wants a 2 out of 3 to make it more fair, and things get pretty insane. This is actually where I realized that Mr. Jeffrey has buck teeth. And do you also know who has buck teeth? Lincoln Loud. Yeah, as much as I thought this wasn't a ripoff, yeah, there are a lot of coincidences to take into account. However, there still is a defense for this because both the characters are children, meaning that they have a higher likelihood of having buck teeth. I can point to Timmy Turner. He has buck teeth, but he ain't no ripoff. Now, here's a fun fact. The creator of Too Loud actually said that his original show, Too Loud, was created without him even watching The Loud House. This is a pretty crazy coincidence, so keep that in the back of your mind. Anyways, back to the episode. So Jeffrey decides to become Mr. Beast for the day and puts the girls to work doing ridiculous tasks to complete their prize. Jeez, he's even talking like Mr. Beast sitting up there on a pile of dirty socks. Wow, Jeffrey sure does like being on stacks of things. Remember early in the episode, this guy was just hiding under the rubble of toys? Still not sure how he was able to breathe under there. Anyways, the girls finally realize that this is not worth it, and the animation gets pretty expressive here. Sarah actually ended up appreciating what they had before. So at this point in the season of Too Loud, I can't really tell who the girls are personality-wise. They just seem pretty obnoxious. Like, if I had to pick a character from the Loud House, I could pinpoint and tell you their exact personalities based on the episodes, but with Too Loud, I'm struggling to do that a little bit, so I'm just gonna classify everyone on this show as loud. That's their personality, loud. Anyways, Sarah realized that she actually got one of her toys, which was her first figure from Sarah, and vice versa. So the two realize this and apologize to each other, and they decide to become best friends again. Pretty cool, heartwarming, very good. And this is also where I realized in the episode that Sarah, without an H, has a forehead the size of the moon. Like, the other Sarah couldn't even contain her properly in that hug. Jeffrey's sister's head is huge. Anyways, Mr. Jeffrey decides to retire as the new Mr. Beast and ask for forgiveness. And the girls decide to make things right. They both take the legendary Pokemon and live happily ever after. Then the episode ends. That was actually a pretty sweet episode. Good ending, good message. I feel like as I'm watching Too Loud more and more, I'm learning more about the episodes than I've ever did before. Now, you may be asking me at this point, Kalobi, is this show a copy or not? You've been yapping for a while about the episode, so give us the tea. Well, I got some tea for you, but I don't think you're gonna like it, okay? I've already established that there are 4 similarities between Too Loud and The Loud House, and with Nickelodeon's The Loud House premiering all the way back in 2016, before Too Loud, that means that they had their idea out first. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that Too Loud still copied them, because just because someone releases a cartoon soon doesn't really mean anything if both shows were original. And also take into account that Nico probably had this idea even before The Loud House came into fruition. Now, I do admit, what makes this really suspicious is the fact that both the cartoons have the same word in the title. We don't usually see that. That's pretty unheard of. It's a very crazy coincidence. But when I examine the episodes of Too Loud critically, I see no signs of the show copying The Loud House based on the plot alone. In fact, it's probably more original than The Loud House, which is actually hilarious. The art style is hand-drawn. Think about it. No company's gonna go out of their way to do more work to copy a show that doesn't make any sense at all. This leads more to something that is authentic. And yes, they made a parody of Pokemon, but that's actually great. I love when cartoons do this. Johnny Test did it and I loved it, and now Too Loud is making their own twist. So everyone needs to put down their pitchforks and relax. And look, Loud House fans, you know that every episode of that cartoon is not perfect, okay? It's a great show, but Too Loud also has some pretty good episodes. I mean, it's entertaining me as an adult, which I don't typically get from watching the Loud House, even though I like both cartoons. Look, if your show can hold retention of an adult, I'm pretty sure the creators did something right. So I say that to say that people should give Too Loud a second chance. Oh, but Kalobi, you're telling us to watch another cartoon like you did with Miracle Star? Yes, I am. You guys are gonna have to sit down and accept it. Look, I was worried about Too Loud at first because I was like, bro, you got a kid with white hair with a sister, and then you have another show with a kid with white hair with sisters. But Jeffrey doesn't have quite as much siblings as Lincoln Loud, so that just puts him in the category of a regular brother, so it's not that big of a deal. Anyways, how about we look at another episode from Too Loud called The Incredibly Shrinking Head. And after this segment, I'm gonna reveal to you the actual truth. One of these assumptions is correct. Too Loud is a ripoff, or Too Loud is not. I have confirmation from the creator, but stay tuned. So in this episode, the two siblings have to take a trip to the dentist, and this guy is crazy as heck. Look at him. But even he realizes how big the main characters on this show's heads are, so he decides to help them out, mad scientist style. Yeah, I think Lisa Loud would like to have a word with you, mister. Now this is where the episode takes a different turn. Anyway, so the dentist goes to work on these two, and I don't really think that he fixed their teeth. I think this man was working on their face, because when they show up to the library, they are presented with bandages all over their face. I'm thinking the dentist didn't really like the size of their forehead, so he decided to change it. So Sarah and the old lady take off the bandages, and Jeffrey and his sister look completely different. They were wondering if their teeth were clean, which yes, it is. However, they both look completely different now. This is where I was like, okay, I gotta go back to Lincoln Loud and compare this, because now Too Loud literally has a different art style. So let's see if it resembles Lincoln Loud at all. And to my surprise, it still did not resemble Lincoln Loud. If anything, what he had before was closer with the circle-shaped head. However, now it looks more like Cal Arts. You can mistake this guy as Dipper Pines. But yeah, their heads are normal, just like handsome Squidward. Now this is where something funny happens with Jeffrey and his sister. All of a sudden, now they don't like people being loud. He tells Sarah with an H to shut up. And once again, Sarah with an H is all over Jeffrey. And I think she has a crush on him. His new look is so captivating that she can't help but blush. Anyways, I'm not gonna watch the whole episode, but I think I've come to the conclusion that this is not a ripoff of the Loud House. Even plot-wise, we've gone through 2 episodes. If I were to just write down similarities on a piece of paper and show them to you, this would almost sound like a ripoff, because based on similarities alone, but we've proven that this is clearly a coincidence. It's crazy because I didn't expect to enjoy these episodes of Too Loud as much as I did, and I did some research on the show. The cartoon never got super viral, but it did have temporary success, and this is the point where I realized how hard the field of animation is. It's very competitive, even when you have a good cartoon that is masterfully animated. Good story, good message, good animation. It literally does not guarantee success, and I know this firsthand. This show obviously didn't take off to the level of the Loud House or even Bluey, but I think it's still pretty cool at the end of the day. Now, it's time for the big twist I told you about. The very man who created Too Loud left a comment clearing up everything on one of my older videos back in 2021. He says this: Nico Colaleo here, creator of Too Loud. Boy, if I knew back in 2014 when I created Too Loud that it would get unfairly called a ripoff of a future show for having the word loud in its title, I would have definitely titled it something else. Pause. This shows that the creator is being genuine here. He would have gone back and actually changed the name to avoid the confusion, but I think he should keep the name Too Loud. You came up with this on your own. You had no idea about the Loud House. You weren't trying to copy it. It's your name. Own it. At the end of the day, he has the right to keep the name Too Loud. But I get his point. But don't worry, I'm clearing up the confusion. After this video and my others, people are not gonna think that Too Loud is a copy anymore. Anyways, let's get back into what he said. Nico continues saying, to this day, I've never seen the Loud House. It didn't come out until after DreamWorks and I had already developed Too Loud, written scripts, etc. I have seriously never seen the Loud House. Jeffrey looking similar to the main Loud House boy is a complete coincidence, probably because my character designer, Ben Anders, was working at Nick on Fairly Odd godparents at the time he designed Jeffrey with me. Sometimes coincidences just happen. In any case, thanks to anyone who takes 30 seconds to watch any snippet of Too Loud to see it's in no way a ripoff. Oh wow, so it actually looks like Ben and Nico designed Jeffrey together, and remember how I told you guys that art styles can bleed over? What this basically means is, let's say I work with the creator of Ed, Edd and Eddy, and I told him to make me an original character. Now, although my character would be original, it would still resemble Ed, Edd and Eddy's art style, most likely. So this is actually pretty cool. It's crazy how much we can learn as the years progress. I mean, new information keeps coming out. I know people say, oh, Kolobi, you're milking this, oh, Kolobi, you're late, but this is new information that's coming out, so therefore it's really not late. Anyways, we now know the truth of Too Loud. The show goes up another point for me. Now here's another big plot twist, and I actually think this is bigger than what I just showed you. Did you know that Vizzy Pop actually worked on Too Loud? What? Yeah, Nico said that she worked on the animation I was laughing at in one of my other videos because the walk cycle was off and it caught me completely off guard. Now obviously I was in no way mocking the animator, I was just trying to teach people the proper walk cycle course of action. But this is unbelievable. Look how much Vizzy's animation has evolved. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? You went from this to this? Unbelievable. Man, the things I found out for you guys is very wild. I hope that you're subscribed to this channel for this exclusive content and research. So the person that made the extremely successful animated series Has Been Hotel has worked on Too Loud. I mean, does the lore of this keep getting better or what? Too much twists and turns, dog. It's funny because I actually missed this comment a couple years ago from Nico because on older videos it's a little harder to find things, but I'm glad I saw it. Also, I like what the other animators did on Too Loud as well. It kind of reminds me of that Ren and Stimpy vibe you felt when you watched the cartoon. Would it be appropriate for me to even add in that I feel a lot of resemblance to Ed, Edd and Eddy, which is one of my favorite childhood cartoons of all time? Like, I'm telling you right now, this character from Too Loud literally looks like Kevin. He reminds me so much of him, not just the facial structure alone, but also his mannerisms. In conclusion, I am going to stick to my original belief that Too Loud is original. Have a great day.